friends, welcome back to the Undergraduate Impact Program Mentorship. This is lesson 3 of the first module, and I hope you had a great time, interacting with the lessons in for lesson 1 and lesson 2, and you had so much to glean out of it, and you're applying them to your life as well. But before that, can I just ask you something first, and I want you to answer this honestly. If I followed you around for 1 week, your classes, your conversations, your screen time, your plans, would I be able to tell where your life is headed? Or would I just see activity? Because many people, even young people, are very active, especially young people are very active, but very few are intentional. You can be busy but still lost. People can be hardworking but still misdirected about where they're headed. And the people can be talented and still be drifting. And drifting is very dangerous because you don't get to feel it immediately. It's after years have passed, you then begin to understand, 10 years have passed. What has happened with my life or in my life? And that's the reason we need to talk about vision. Not just, the vibes of being in school, I'm headed somewhere, or I'll soon graduate in the next 5 years or 4 years. Not, we'll see what happens with life. Not, let me just graduate first of all. No. Having a clear vision for yourself is very important. Remember, in our last section, in our last lesson, we defined values, right? What you stand for. But once you know what you stand for, the next question you need to be asking yourself and answering is, where am I going? Because strong values without direction can still lead to a frustrated life. Vision is what gives your values a destination. So let me explain it this way. Imagine you bought a bus, the bus is clean, the driver is skilled, and the fuel tank is full. But there's one problem, no destination. That bus is headed nowhere. Can you imagine how long it will take you on the road? You could spend endless hours or days on the road if there's enough fuel in that tank, but you end up almost nowhere. And that's how many people live their lives. They are educated, they are capable of so many things. They are skilled, they are motivated, but they lack a sense of clear direction. And when you don't choose a direction for your life, life chooses one for you, and that's not what you want, definitely, right? Vision is not just about career. Your career is very important, but vision is even beyond that. It's about the kind of life you are intentionally building, and I want you to underline intentionally building, because that's the key word there, intentional. What kind of person are you becoming, right? These are some of the questions you need to ask yourself and answer. What kind of problems do you want to solve? What kind of impact do you want your life to have? And if you don't answer those questions, you find out that you spend years reacting instead of building. And the reaction is actually very, very exhausting. Let me tell you something that is true about life. The ones who grow faster, people who grow faster are not always the smartest people. They are the clearest ones, those who are clear about where they are headed. They may not have everything figured out because, of course, you're wondering, 10 years time, 20 years time, okay, this is what I would love to see, but you might not be very clear about it. And of course, it happens. We keep evolving, we keep getting clearer and clearer and clearer about where we are headed as time goes on. But at the point where you are right now, you need to have a vision about where you're going, right? And so, like I was saying about those people who do better, they may not have everything figured out right now, right? But they have a clear direction, a sense of direction about where they are headed. So their decisions align with where they want to go to, right? They choose their internships. For those who are in school, they're like, okay, because this is where I'm headed, I would love to intern here. They choose those internships strategically. They choose their friendships carefully. They use the time intentionally. So clarity multiplies efforts, but confusion wastes it. Now, I want to make this very, very practical for you. When we talk about vision is not fantasy of, I wish in 10 years' time I'll become a very successful person, or I want to become a very, very rich man. Those are very grandeur kind of things people say, but they are very vague, right? Vision is specific enough to guide your decisions. So, how do you build visions? That could be the question you're asking me right now, right? Let me give you a structure that will help you to think clearly about this. And this is a framework that you can remember and work with. And like I did in the last time, we'll spell out the word vision and use those letters to explain how you can build a good vision for yourself. So the first word, the first letter in the word vision is V. So I want you to first visualize the future you want to have and do that honestly. Close your eyes for a moment, sit still somewhere. Imagine yourself in 10 years time, 10 years from now. Where are you? What kind of work are you doing? What kind of life are you living? What kind of character, do you have? Not just what impresses people, but what fulfills you. Because vision begins with imagination. If you cannot see it, you cannot move towards it, right? So that's part of visualizing your future is very, very important. And like I said earlier, you might not have the 100% picture of your life in 20 years time and 10 years time at the moment, but you have a sense of clarity to where you really want your life to be, to get to, in 5 years time, in 10 years time. So whatever picture you have of yourself, and this cuts across various areas of your life, your career path, your relationships, your spirituality, just every area, your academics, different things. So you could just have a vision for these various areas of your life, visualize them and write them down. Very important, write it down. The next letter there is I. Identify your core strengths and interests. And I think if you did lesson 1, you should have had some grasp of your strengths and interests, because we talked about self-discovery there, right? Vision is not fantasy, like I said earlier. It must align with who you are. So what problems are you naturally drawn to solving? What interests you? What concerns you? What topics energize you? What skills come to you naturally, but maybe sometimes you even ignore them, right? Someone could be a person who loves organizing events, but may just dismiss it that I think it's just something I'm very good at, right? But you find out that in 10 years time she's running an event management company and doing excellently well at it, right? Your strengths are clues to the greater life you're called to build most times, right? So latching on your strength, and I think we've emphasized that in the first lesson. And yes, we know there are other areas of our lives where we need improvement on, right? Look at those areas too, and those areas that will contribute to where you're headed. You need to build on that, and we're still going to speak to that as we go ahead. So going back to vision is often hidden inside your natural wiring. So it's very important that you know yourself, understand, just sit still and understand and write down and note those things that you do. And that's the reason why you need to keep doing things, keep trying out things. Don't shy away from opportunities, because you never can tell that you can do well at something if you don't try it. I remember I used to be someone who never thought she could write. You think of writing, I'm like, I was even a science student. I am a science student actually, even till now, right? But they think it's the art students who do very well with writing or art. But somehow there was a need to start writing, and I learned it, and by God's grace, right? Yes, I write. So you never can tell what you can do very well at until you try it. So please give yourself permission to just try out things, especially now that you're young. You have the time and the space to try new things and keep improving, keep learning, and see what resonates with you and what you can do very well at. The next letter there is S. Set direction, not just goals. Goals are where you are headed, but direction is like the pathway, the steps that will help you to get there. For example, you're in school, right? You could have a goal of, I want to come out with so and so GPA. And so the direction is, okay, for me to get there to that goal, I need to do this. I need to study, this way. I need to pay attention to the assignments I'm given, to the, seminars and quizzes that I have and all that. So that's a direction that will help you to get to where your goal is. Someone could say, I want to build a career in policy and governance. So the direction could be, first of all, I'm in school. Probably you're studying international relations, political science, whatever. So you tell yourself, I need to excel in my grades. I need to do very well. So at least I come out with a very good result that will help me to stand out. And not just a good result on paper, but I need to have that knowledge. That'll be a strong foundation for me for what I want to do in the future. And there are other skills that will also help you to excel in that thing that you're aiming at. So a direction that will help you to get to that goal is, okay, I need to learn the skills. I need to volunteer as much as possible. I need to even have a mentor in that path, in that space I'm looking at, that will help to guide me and tell me what to do and what not to do. So these are some of the things that you could look around and when you talk about having direction for where you're headed, not just saying I want to get there in 10 years time. So how will you get there is the question you should ask yourself and answer that, right? Direction is what will help you to get to those goals, like I mentioned earlier. Now comes time for alignment, which is very important. Letter I, invest in what matches your vision. You need to spend time to invest in those things that matches your vision. And that is why the very first question I asked you before we got into this is, if I followed you around, your activities for the day, will I have a sense of where you're headed, right? So you need to start just not when you're out of school, right now, to invest your time, your energy, your attention into the things that will lead you to where you're headed, right? And we know time is limited, energy is limited, attention is limited, so you need to make the best use of them. If your vision is leadership, like I said earlier, in policy and governance, maybe spend more time in learning some communication skills, volunteering in some roles, joining school activities, clubs, things that could help you to just start practicing and start learning and start developing those skills that will help you to grow. If your vision is to become an entrepreneur, to own a business, invest time in problem solving. Think of innovative things you want to do. If there's someone who that is doing very well in business, pick up the person's book, read about it, ask the person to mentor you. If your vision is academia, then invest in research skills, right? Stop investing heavily in things that do not serve your direction. When you're clear that this thing does not serve my direction, serve where I'm going to, the goals I have, or the vision I have for myself in any way, then why are you spending time on it, right? So vision protects your focus. That's why it's very important. The next letter, O, overcome distractions and comparison. This is where many young people lose momentum. You see someone who is like blowing online and you're like, I think I need to become what did they do to blow online? Social media influencer, whatever, something, just because you feel the other person is doing that, maybe she's doing a skit, or he does skits and then he's blowing in inputs and you feel, let me run into that, or someone else gets an opportunity, or someone else seems to appear, ahead in one way or the other, and you're like, I think I need to follow this person in that path. No, you don't have to do that. You shouldn't do that, right? When you have a vision for yourself, know that, life is different. Look at a maize plant and an orange plant. The orange plant will be like, corn, maize, you've grown already. I need to grow now, no. In 3 months. You won't do that. You're not maize, right? So maize knows that once she goes in like 90 days, she's blocked off and eaten and then forgotten. But you, orange 3, you're going to feed people, generations, even. So you have to take that, understand where you're headed, and give yourself permission to just grow and be all that you are created to be, and give the world the very best of yourself, right? That's why vision is important. Once again, without vision, comparison destabilizes you. But when your vision is clear, you understand timing and you stop asking, why not me? Why is it her? And then you start asking the right question. Am I building correctly? Vision gives you the patience that is required for you to grow into all that you need to be to fulfill that vision. Finally, and nurture it consistently. Vision is not a one-time decision, right? It requires refinement. As you grow, it becomes even clearer. You need to review it, you need to adjust it, you need to strengthen it, but never leave without your vision. I believe you've learned something from this conversation about vision. Remember, we'll be sending you a workbook that will help you to think through what you've learned and answer questions and, write down those visions you have for your life so that you begin to work in that direction, right? Thank you very much for listening, and until the next lesson. Bye.